What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Storyteller Jet with another episode of the That's So Fire Talk Show. Today has been a very special day because we are just wrapping up Family Mastermind, where I had the opportunity to hang out with some amazing people. And today is going to be the last show of the day, where we're gonna have my man Mike over here. Let's go. It's going to be fire. We are going to be talking about a lot of really cool things, and I hope that you're going to be tuning in because we're going to be talking about ADHD as a superpower. We're going to be talking about sleep as a weapon. We're going to be talking about like neurology and a lot of really things that's happening in the mind. And I have Mike here, who's the expert at this on the show today. And for me, actually, I'm going to probably get like a couch, bring it up here, sit down, and getting, how do you call those people? Being my therapy over here because, it's going to be great. So I hope you guys going to tune in and learn a lot today. Mike, so much fun having you on the show today, man. Thank you for coming over.
I am really excited to be here, Jet, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to it since the last time, which I think was like 3 months ago in Family Mini back in Jacksonville. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So we'll start by doing a quick introduction of who you are, like your name, a little bit about your business, and then we're going to be start talking about the entrepreneur journey, like your come up story, like, your origin story. Okay?
Okay.
Ready? Awesome. Let's go. So who is Mike Ox?
Well, I am an applied neurology coach. And so I help people with pain, attention, focus, sleep, and performance under pressure using neurology drills that have a measurable change in minutes and sometimes seconds. So way, way quicker than things that we're used to trying and using. Wow,
that's incredible. That is... like when people think about neurology, that sounds like super like crazy and kind of stuff like that. How did you get involved in that specifically?
Way too many head injuries.
Really?
I had 15 concussions where I lost time, several more concussions where I didn't lose time but had an impact, and the consequences built up. And I had vertigo almost every night for years. I had attention and focus issues, sleep issues, anger issues, attention, all sorts of challenges. And I ended up meeting with an applied neurology coach. And in about 20 minutes, I was able to reverse a lot of it.
20 minutes?
20 minutes. It was unbelievable. I did not understand it. So as an example, the prior 6 months, I hadn't been able to do a single push-up without pain. And after 20 minutes of mostly vision and balance drills, I was able to do 20 push-ups without pain, without doing anything to my shoulder. And it made no sense whatsoever. But as I dug into the science, I figured out the parts of the brain that control pain and movement and attention and all the things that we want as high performers.
Yeah, if you are just tuning in and you want to learn about anything that is just describing, we're going to dive deep into the conversation today. We are going to be talking about like how important sleep is, how important, it's going to be awesome. Awesome. So one of my favorite part of the show is to talk about the come up story, like, the little bit journey, like some of the challenges that you face along the way. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned? And, what brought you to what you're doing right now? Like, you've written books, you've done a bunch of really cool things. Like, let's talk about that entrepreneur journey to getting here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've started companies, I've bought companies, I've sold companies, was a real estate investor, it's a small number compared to a lot of people, but I did over 100 rehabs, did note buying, and had a lot of experience in that world. And one of the things that was common for me and every driven individual is grinding is something you know how to do. Mashing the gas is something you know how to do. What I didn't know how to do was fix tires that were out of alignment and take the emergency brake off. And with neurology, I'm able to do that for myself and for other people and help them end up taking that ability to work hard and get more from it.
Yeah. So how did you get those concussion that you mentioned earlier? Was it like playing football or playing other sports? Like, how did you get those concussions?
Lots of stupid fun stuff. Rugby, full contact fighting, skiing into rocks, nighttime trail running and adventure racing, all sorts of different things. Had
Wow.
a very, very active life.
Yeah. So all of these things that you did as a sport and kind of doing all of that.
What's that?
All of these things you did as a sports and just kind of doing like rugby and like all of these things.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they just accumulated over time.
Yeah. Why did you do so many? Like I would highly consider like highly dangerous. I would say sports. Why did you decide to do all of these kind of things?
That was when I still feel most alive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a unique wiring that some people have where danger makes them feel alive. And I'm one of those people. There's, as an example, the thalamus, depending on how it's wired, when people get punched in the face, the majority of people back away as their automatic response. No thought to it, no training, that doesn't play into it at all. There's another segment of the population that when they get punched in the face, they move forward towards the aggressor.
So that's you.
That's me. Yeah. Not necessarily always beneficial, but
Yeah.
it's the wiring that I've got, and it does have some very good advantages.
Yeah. Yeah. So walk me through that process. How many concussions did you get?
15 where I lost time.
15 when you lost time.
Yes.
How long did it take you before you, I guess, like you had, all the things that you were dealing aftermath after you're going through all of this concussion? How long did it take you for you to seek help and to kind of start studying neurology to come up with the solution to help you from that?
Well, that's kind of the funny thing. I didn't seek help. I happened to be in Phoenix, and I went to meet with the applied neurology coach because of things that he was doing in the combatives arena. And they said, hey, would you like to see what we do with clients? I was like, sure, show me. And I didn't realize how much I had wrong. I just thought it was normal, power through it, grind on, and keep going. But when I got the parts of my brain working that had been impacted, it was like back in 10 years off at the clock.
Wow. Yeah, interesting. Wow. So you've written that book, Unleash ADHD as your $6 million superpower.
Yes.
What made you want to write that book?
Well, for years, ADHD had been a superpower of mine. The ability to switch back and forth between total focus and being aware of everything around me. The hunter mentality, the entrepreneur mentality, all of those kind of tie into genetics that create ADHD symptoms if the wrong part of the brain is in control. And so once I started racking up the concussions, ADHD went from being a superpower to being a daily struggle. And when I got the parts of my brain that were hurting working the way they were supposed to work, it went back to being a superpower again.
Yeah. Like for me, again, ADHD, I guess for me, can you define what ADHD means? To me, I know I have maybe a superficial meaning of what ADHD means. Can you explain for me what that exactly means?
Honestly, no. And I'll tell you why. And this is really important because if you look at the definition of ADHD in the textbooks, it is a collection of symptoms. It is a collection of symptoms that you can also get from a bad night of sleep, from a head injury, from PTSD, from eating the wrong foods, all sorts of different things. So some people have a genetic predisposition to have ADHD symptoms when the wrong part of their brain is in control, when their brain's in survival mode. Other people, they're not born with that wiring, but they get those tendencies because of things that happen to them in their life. When you stack things together, when you get the wiring plus head injuries, plus nutrition issues, plus sleep issues, all of a sudden ADHD can become a huge, huge problem.
Yeah. How so? How can ADHD become a huge problem?
Well, a racing mind from ADHD can keep people from sleeping. When they don't get enough sleep, they're going to be more emotionally reactive. So they're not going to wait a moment before they react to things. Their inhibition is going to be down, or that's the ability to not do things that you don't want to do. The tendency to get knocked off of focus or knocked off track increases. Lots of problems start popping up.
Yeah. How do you diagnose ADHD? Like, how do you know that you have it? Can you like have like a specific test to like figure out like, you know, that you have it, or like, how do you figure that out specifically?
So the majority of people who self-identify with ADHD are self-diagnosed.
Okay.
Some people have been diagnosed by a doctor. Some people have been diagnosed by another medical professional. Some people were told that they had ADHD by a teacher and an employer, by their parents, by friends, and they don't. So it's a very fuzzy definition.
Gotcha. What are some of the symptoms that you would look at to say that you have ADHD?
The ones that I focus on primarily are attention and focus.
Okay.
So the ability to maintain focus when you want to maintain focus and have a wide awareness of what's going on around you when you want that wide awareness. The ability to switch back and forth between the two.
Okay. So now the question is, obviously you've written a whole book about it, and I would like to dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
How do you unleash ADHD as a $6 million superpower? And why did you put $6 million behind that? There might be a story behind that, I assume.
Yes, the $6 million man. And basically went in system by system, upgraded his body. And so with ADHD, if we look at the core reason why ADHD would be a superpower, and if we look at Einstein, Edison, Da Vinci, Musk, Gates, Jobs, Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, on and on and on and on, we have really, really high performers who had ADHD.
Interesting.
The U.S. was found and explored and settled by people with ADHD because it's that tendency to have wanderlust, to be a hunter, to want to go find new things and experience new things. And when it's used correctly, or when the right parts of the brain are involved, it's a tremendous asset. So we've got two parts of the brain. We've got the prefrontal cortex, or the executive centers of the brain, and then we've got the amygdala, or the survival center of the brain. And when the executive centers of the brain are in control, then ADHD can be a superpower. When the survival centers of the brain are in control, then all of a sudden we start getting all of the symptoms that are problems with ADHD that cause it to be called a disorder.
Interesting.
And what I do in the book is systematically take people through the different parts of the brain and shift control from the survival centers to the executive centers.
How do you shift control from the survival center to the executive center of the brain?
That's an excellent question. So vision is a really good example. A lot of people with ADHD have challenges with reading. And a couple of the reasons why people have challenges with reading are eye alignment and eye coordination. So the eyes might move at different speeds, or one might move smoothly and the other jerks. And if we can get them both looking at the same letter or word on the page at the same time, instead of looking past it or in front of it, And if we can get them moving across the page at the same speed, all of a sudden reading is not a challenge anymore. It does not become a threat to the brain. If you think about being in school and reading out loud in reading class, if you have challenges with reading, that sucks. It's a huge, huge threat to the ego. And the brain will feel anxiety, and you'll start being emotionally reactive. And a lot of times kids will do stupid things just to get out of having to read out loud.
That probably was me when I was growing up. Like, I'd never wanted to read in front of the class. Yeah.
It was a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah. So for somebody that is diagnosed with, ADHD, are there something that they can do on a daily basis to ensure that they're using that to their advantage versus letting that be like a crippling, being, I guess, like a diagnosed as a disease for them?
Yeah, what the process is basically you go through and figure out what are the things in your brain that are causing the ADHD symptoms, and then you address them. So if it's vision, you work on vision. If it's balance, you work on balance. If it's nutrition, could be sleep, could be sensory perception, all sorts of different things.
Yeah. How do you figure out which part of the brain or which part of those things that you are, I guess, diagnosed with? Like, this is so fascinating to me. Like, I've heard about ADHD, but I truly did not really understand the true meaning of it. And also, like, what are some of the symptoms? So I'm learning a lot from you right now, having that conversation with you as well. Because for me, like, ADHD, like, you're describing so many different things that I even would not associate with ADHD. For me, it was just, okay, the ADHD is, okay, I was, like, looking at this and then completely, like, shifting focus to something else. But from what you're describing is a lot deeper than that. So thank you for enlightening me, and forgive me for asking all those questions. And I'm, really learning from you as well from right now. So how do you identify which part of the brain that is causing your ADHD?
There's two different ways to go about it. One is if I'm working with somebody one-on-one, I'll assess what's going on. With the book, it's basically going through and doing the follow-along drills in the book and see which ones make the biggest difference.
Okay.
And there's several drills in there, and going through them, with a lot of them, people will experience a measurable change in how they feel, and it happens in minutes or seconds.
Yeah. Can we maybe just highlight one or two of those drills so people that are watching this can kind of maybe just walk themselves through that and maybe figure out, if they have ADHD or how they can, get over it?
Well, it's not necessarily whether they have ADHD or not.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's really important to remember that ADHD is a label put onto a collection of symptoms.
Okay.
And it's only a disorder if the amygdala is in control and it's causing emotional and behavioral problems.
Wow. Okay.
That same wiring is that same strength that goes back to Edison, Einstein, Da Vinci, Gates, Jobs, Musk. It is not necessarily bad. It depends on which part of the brain's in control.
This is so fascinating. I love it. I'm loving the conversation. Yeah, can we highlight some of the drills that somebody can go through?
Excuse me. So one that I love doing with people is, and you've done this with me before, is you start by turning your head right and left a few times and kind of see what your range of motion is. And see, is it comfortable? Is it fast? Is it crunchy? Does it sound like there's snap, crackle, pop going on? And then grab the tops of the ears and tug up and forward 5 or 10 times, straight up 5 or 10 times, up and back 5 or 10 times, down and back 5 or 10 times, and straight down 5 or 10 times. And then try it again. And what I found in doing this with thousands of people at this point is 60% of people have an immediate and measurable change in range of motion, speed, comfort, And a lot of times the snack, crackle, pop sound or feeling goes away, which is absolutely crazy. So what's happening is part of the brain, the brainstem, is in control of protecting us and doing all sorts of things. When it's not activated enough, it holds residual tension so that if it doesn't pick up a threat and you get hit, it's kind of pre-tensioned and pre-ready to absorb that hit. And so a lot of people are walking around with their necks ready to absorb a hit without knowing it.
Interesting.
And that can come from staring at a screen for too much of the day, from staring at a computer too much of the day, or even wearing glasses where only a small portion of the lens gives them a clear, undistorted picture. And by doing this, if you think about a dog can be sleeping and noise happens over there and they go, ears go up and their eyes and their face orient to the threat. Well, our ears don't move visibly, but when we tug on them, we can stimulate that same part of the brainstem and calm it down and make it comfortable moving the neck through a wider range of motion. And we'll see reductions in neck tension, relaxation. Sometimes people use it to go to sleep. It can reduce tension around the eyes, or even in some cases, if the migraine is being caused by that tension, it can help with migraines.
Yeah. Wow. So there's a lot of application that would basically be able to solve for you if you do that simple exercise.
Yeah, especially anyone who's traveling and moving at more than 20 miles an hour for more than an hour or so, whether it's on a boat, a car, or a plane. What happens is the eyes and the inner ears and body awareness tend to get out of sync with each other.
I love it.
And
Yeah,
that's one of the things that helps them get back.
Yeah, I think this is very fascinating, and I would love how many of those drills there are.
That I teach,
Yeah.
over 200 in my different trainings.
What? Over 200 drills?
Yes.
That's a lot.
In Unleash ADHD is your $6 million superpower. It's about 20 high leverage drills.
Yeah.
But then I've got other drills for blood pressure, for sleeping, for speed reading, for driving safer, for high speed driving, all sorts of different applications.
That is cool. We'll save the drill for the sleeping one when we get to talking about sleeping.
Yeah, I don't want to put everyone to sleep.
What's that?
We don't want to put everyone to sleep.
Because that was so good. I love that. And I can see me kind of using that drill, like when I get to that level. So I would like to maybe go through maybe 2 or 3 more drills if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole show could be about drills because this is so cool. This is so awesome. Maybe we talk about what their application is, what that's gonna do for the people when they do it, and while they should do it, and then kind of give us the drill for that. So, what is another drill that you can share?
Yeah, I'll tell you another one that's really cool, and it's both for traveling and because of the impact that the COVID spike protein has on the inner ear. So each of our ears sends 1 million signals per second to the brain about whether our head's turning, tipping, and which way gravity is impacting us. And it's really, really common after a head injury, travel, or COVID, or one of 4,000 different medications to have them out of whack. And so the brain is constantly being told that the body is turning when it's not, or tipping when it's not.
Interesting.
And where that becomes very important is the brain will hold residual tension in order to counteract that. And the inner ears control the eyes. So when we move our head and we're trying to look at something, we're able to do that because of that 2 million signals per second that are going to the brain. When it's accurate, everything's good. When it's not accurate, the brain sees it as a threat to survival. And it can create pain. Everything costs more, so we get more decision fatigue, we get more brain fog, and we get a lot of frustration and anxiety and other issues. And so one of the ways that you can see if it's an issue is you pick something in your environment, cover your non-dominant eye. While you're fixating on that item, shut your eye and point at it. And then open your eye and see if you're dead on, right, left, high, or low. And then most people are going to be off by a decent amount.
Really?
And one of the things that we can do is these two bones between the inner ear and the eye. It's called the zygomatic arch, and we can tap on it 5 or 10 times on both sides, and then try it again. And for most people, that will help them get more accurate very, very quickly. I've got there's 5 different drills that I do. I'll do that, I'll do snapping, tapping on the back of the head, or even using a tuning fork at specific frequencies to get the vestibular system working the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And this is a really cool thing. Well, I've got a background in the tactical world. So for shooting, it's an incredibly valuable tool. For basketball, it's an incredibly valuable tool because it allows us to make shots with less eye time on the rim. For golf, it gets rid of perceptual distortions in distance and direction and helps people hit the ball more square off of the tee, keep it on the green, and get more balls in the hole rather than being off a few inches on either side of the hole.
Wow, incredible. So I guess maybe, do you have any exercises or drills that pertains to like headaches, like, how to relieve? Because one thing that my wife doesn't believe in that. My wife is a physician, but I tell her sometimes when I have headache, either like I press like, like that little part, or like maybe like pull my ears down a little bit. Are those even true, or do you have any other drills like for like when people get headaches and kind of anxiety and those types of feelings to I guess cure that?
Yeah. So with headaches, there are well over 100 different causes. So if the cause of your headache is that you're low on sodium, then pulling your ears is probably not going to help a whole lot.
Yeah.
But if it happens to be an issue with your midbrain or with your vagus or an overactive sympathetic system, stimulating the vagus nerve might help. And so one of the drills that I do with people, which actually is used as a primary treatment now by pain clinics on the East Coast for migraine patients, is what you do is you cup your palms, shut your eyes, cover your eyes, and then you do triangle breathing. So you do a double inhale through the nose, which is just breathing in twice, a 10 count exhale through the mouth, and then once your lungs are empty, you hold your breath for 5 seconds. And then a double inhale through the nose, 10 count exhale through the mouth, and a 5 count empty lung hold. Double inhale through the nose again, 10 count exhale through the mouth, and a 5 count empty lung hold. And then end with the double inhale through the nose and uncover. And when people do that, what they see is way, way closer to what we should be seeing all the time. Colors are more vibrant. A lot of times when people can't read their phone, I'll have them do that drill, and they can read their phone without readers for the first time in months or years.
Wow.
Same thing with menus in a dimly lit restaurant. It can allow people who haven't been able to read a menu to read a menu again.
Yeah.
And one gentleman He broke his neck and he had migraines for 18 years. And he'd been to pain clinics across the country, tried experimental treatments, every device and drug and treatment that he was able to find for those 18 years he tried, and he still had 15 or more migraines a month, every month. That little sequence that I taught him to be able to shoot better helped him take care of his migraines.
Awesome. Before we move on to maybe sleep, are there any other like really, are there any drills that you have that the the average people can use, I guess, like to better anything that they might be struggling with? I'm not sure which, because there's so many different areas that we can touch on with what you're describing, whether it's anxiety, headaches, and all of these other thing, or even like, we'll talk about that. Sleep. I'm not going to skip on that. Are there any other really cool drill that you can share?
Oh, let me show you one. So a big issue for reading and catching and driving. I'll give you an example with driving. When people go into a parking lot and they either continually run into things or they continually park way away from the barrier, what that is a sign of is that their eyes are either pointed closer than what they're looking at, than the object that they're looking at, or their eyes are pointed beyond what they're looking at. And so they're misjudging distance. And they have perceptual distortions in distance and direction because of that. It leads to kicking steps, tripping more often, stepping on feet when you go to hug someone, all sorts of challenging issues. Grabbing glasses too hard or missing the glass when you go to grab it, all sorts of challenges that come from it. So I've got a few patents, and one of them is on this device. And basically, what you do is you look at the bead, and what you want to see is the string making an X at the bead. And when that happens, what it means is that your eyes are pointed at what you're looking at, and you're able to judge distance and direction more accurately. Again, for all of those applications, but also for golf, also for pickleball, also for basketball, football, any ball sport, and navigating through our environment.
So if you are dealing with all of this, a tool like that would help you recalibrate your eyes so that way you're not stepping on somebody's foot when you're trying to go hug them, or like, kicking your feet on like the next step that you are going to do. Am I getting that right?
It helps with that, and that's a big deal because falling is the #1 cause of non-automobile accidental death in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we've got heart disease and stuff that's not an accident. That's medical. But if we look at accidents, #1 is car accidents, and #2 after that is falls.
Yeah.
And so the more that we can do to improve balance, and vision plays into balance tremendously, and obstacle avoidance, then the less likely we are to die from that or get seriously injured.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for me, that has happened to me a lot. Like where like I'm going in for the hug and I step on the person's shoes, or even like, going to like a short step and I'm hitting my foot to it. So that would be like something that I would probably need to do to like really solve that balance issue for me as well.
Yeah, there's especially with kids, there's 3 things that a lot of times play into each other. One is challenges with reading, ADHD symptoms, and either catching balls with their face or jamming their fingers because they're closing their hands too soon and then the ball hits them.
Yeah.
And all of those are problems with eye alignment and eye tracking and the eyes not being pointed at what you're looking at. And this helps with that and helps with it very quickly. So with my son as an example, he went from with catching, when his eyes are in their old normal state, he would catch about 20% of the time. 2-3 minutes of vision drills, and he's catching 80 to 100% of the time.
Wow.
And in classrooms where kids have been removed from the normal classroom because of behavior issues blamed on ADHD, doing a few minutes of vision training can create up to an 80% reduction in behavior issues. And so all of a sudden, the ADHD label goes away because the survival center of the brain is no longer in control. The executive center's in control, and they're able to do what they want to do.
Yeah. Before we move on, how can people get that device that you've created?
Yeah, it's called, well, it's based on a 100-year-old device called the Brock string. And this is the first major advancement in it, and people in the neurology industry called it the ox string after me. But it's at visiontraining.com.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So let's move on to sleep, because I feel like
Yes.
this is where I'm going to get that couch and kind of lay down over here and learn from you from that. So as part of your notes and stuff like that, how do people how can people use sleep as a weapon? That's kind of one of the things that you talk about all the time. Use sleep
Yes.
as a weapon.
Yeah, so for years, decades, I tried to minimize sleep. I thought if I could sleep 4 hours a night instead of 8, I'd gain 28 hours a week. That's a win. And so we live in a culture where people think, hard chargers think I'll sleep when I'm dead, and it's a badge of honor to, like what we were talking about.
Yeah.
A badge of honor to function on little sleep. The problem is sleep is a very, very active process in life, and it's where we consolidate memories. It's where we prune memories. So that's when we forget things that we want to forget, so that we're not as overwhelmed the next day. It's when our immune system works, and every time neurons fire in our brain, waste is formed, ash. You could think of like ash in a fireplace. Well, during sleep at night, that's when the glymphatic system goes in and cleans out the waste from the day. And if we don't do that, it builds up over time. And one of the consequences is dementia.
Interesting.
And so it's a big, big deal. If we look shorter term, lack of sleep mimics ADHD. It mimics PTSD, TBIs, being drunk. It creates a 60% increase in emotional reactivity, or the ability to just fly off the handle, or not the ability, the tendency to. It reduces immune function by up to 70%. There are just every single marker that we have. Learning speed is reduced by up to 40%.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen is a lot of people, well, professional athletes, if you look at some very, very high-end professional athletes, instead of trying to sleep 4 hours a night, they're sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night. And they're able to have consistent careers, long careers, with fewer injuries and fewer illnesses. They recover faster, and their mind is sharp.
Yeah, this is so true, because like the days that I like maybe running in like 2 or 3 hours of sleep, at the end of the day, I just like feel completely like almost drunk, kind of like where like my cognitive ability is not as sharp, and I tend to be like like anything can kind of really trigger me a little bit, like kind of like a simple question might kind of make me want to go off the handles.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say go off the handles, but like, you know what I'm trying to say, like, easily get irritated. That's the word I'm looking for. So this is so true. Like, I've never really kind of like really thought about the science behind it and all those things that you just described as well. How long should people typically say, okay, I need 7 or 8 hours of sleep? How long would you say is the not average? How long should some people be sleeping?
So for most people, they're going to want between 7 and 9 hours a night. And time is going to be the best judge of what is best for an individual person. A lot of people think that they're what's called short sleepers, and that they don't need 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And the reality is there's two parts to it. One, when they go into a sleep lab where they don't have a clock and they don't have the sun coming up and going down, over 2 or 3 days, they end up oversleeping and then going back to 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. If we look at the number of people who are actually wired to be short sleepers, in the U.S., it's about 40,000. And to give some perspective to that number, think about the number of people who you know or have ever known who have a net worth of over $50 million. There's 40,000 people in the U.S. who have a net worth of over $50 million. That's the same number of short sleepers that there are. There's not that many.
Wow.
So it's depending on the study, it's between for every 8 people who thinks they're a short sleeper, there's 1, or between every 20 people who thinks they're a short sleeper, there's 1.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Obviously, for me, sometimes, like, because I lack of sleep, obviously I don't perform well, or even at the end of the day, like we're recording here at the end of the day, like I may not be as sharp as I need to be because maybe of like I'm still catching up from like sleep from last time. Do you have any exercises that I can do to ensure that I am as sharp as possible, like maybe before doing a podcast or doing something like that, when I am lacking those cognitive abilities to be as sharp as I can be?
Yeah, so a big part of the problem is how the brain handles energy after a short night of sleep. It's not as efficient. Yeah. It's more reactive to sugar. And so what we want to do is support the mitochondrial function in the brain. We can take creatine, which is just a baseline supplement that I think everyone should be taking, especially after a short night of sleep. A few more supplements that help a lot after a short night of sleep are PQQ and alpha GPC, ketone esters or ketone salts, and D-ribose, and then the last one is L-theanine. And that combination can compensate for a lot of the attention and focus and emotional reactivity issues. It doesn't clean the crap out of the brain. You just got to have sleep for that. But as far as for, okay, I've got to juice the systems, I've got to perform today. What do I need to do to pull out the stops? That's a very good stack. And then of course caffeine, but
of course caffeine.
Yeah.
For like creatine or like all the other things that you mentioned, how do people get those? Like, is it like you can go to Target or Walmart to be able to get these?
Yeah,
or like,
Amazon, or they're very, very common supplements.
Yeah. Is there like any like supplements that maybe include all of them at once that you can just buy that one thing that kind of helps you with that?
Not really. I should probably do that.
There you go. This is a $6 million idea right there. How do you explain those like terrible headache that you get from lack of sleep? Like what's happening there?
Well, part of it is, it depends on the cause of the lack of sleep. It could be dehydration. It could be low salt. It could be other low minerals, low magnesium. It could also be too much waste buildup in the brain, or just an energy deficit. The cells in your brain don't have the energy that they need to do the work that you're asking them to do. And so the brain creates pain to get you to stop as like a check engine light. And if you don't listen, it starts yelling louder.
Yeah.
And makes more things hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember last week I woke up super early. I think it was around like 1 a.m. and work until like I think 6 p.m. Right after I was done, I had a headache. But the following day, like me and my wife and my kids went to the beach, and I'm sitting here like getting some sunshine on me, but most of the day was like with a headache. Like I still enjoyed the beach, but I could have enjoyed it more without the headache. So that kind of explains kind of what was happening. It was my body telling me, hey, you are sleep deprived. Like make sure that you go and kind of clean all of those like garbage, or all the things that like are residual in your mind that you need to get rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I should have mentioned before that plays into this so importantly, especially for entrepreneurs, is one of the things I talk about every year is the deadliest day of the year. And it's the springtime change. And the springtime change, when we get 1 hour less of sleep, that day, there's 24% more hospital admissions for cardiac events.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And in the fall, when the time changes, there's 20% less
Interesting.
because of
Very
the extra
interesting.
hour of sleep.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to those entrepreneurs that wearing sleep as a badge of honor? Like they all bragging, okay, yeah, this week I worked so hard, I only had 2 hours of sleep. What advice would you give them?
Well, I've got training called sleep amplifiers. And the reason I call it sleep amplifiers is because the time that you spend in quality sleep at night amplifies the effectiveness of every second that you're awake. And kind of like a magnifying glass. You can make things bigger or you can make them smaller. A lack of sleep is going to diminish performance every second of the day. And so if you want to perform at 100%, you want quality sleep. And if you're okay performing at 90, 80, 70%, then go ahead and cut the time that you're sleeping. Now, the reality is I and everybody else don't sleep a full night every night. Between red-eye flights, trips, and then pretty much everybody has 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 bad nights of sleep a month. That's kind of normal. It's part of the life experience. We want to minimize them as much as we can, but sometimes there's things out of our control. But when we do have control, we really want to get quality sleep and not sedation. So we don't want to self-medicate because that cuts back on the amount of memories we consolidate, the amount of memories we prune, the quality of the clean out of the brain. We're unconscious, but we're not getting the full benefits of sleep.
Yeah. This is so fascinating. And this is you're so incredibly smart about all of these things. Like, I'm learning so much from you. And yeah, incredible. So,
Well, there's a theme here. One, I know a lot about sleep because for decades I tried to go without and I messed up a lot of stuff.
yeah.
I learned about neurology and concussions because I beat the snot out of my head too many times and I had to get my life back.
Yeah.
So
There's the trend there. So do you have any exercise for people that sometimes it's taking them too long to fall asleep, or their mind is racing and having a bunch of different ideas? I know that's happening to me all the time.
Yep.
Just like last night, it took me so long to fall asleep. Maybe I was too excited to have that conversation with you tonight, but do you have anything that you maybe a drill or anything that you can teach people that may be facing those times where it's hard for them to fall asleep?
yeah, there's in sleep amplifiers I go through several ways to calm down different parts of the brain. And what happens is people are focused on sleep supplements and sleep gadgets and sleep hygiene, and that's all important. But there's another side of the equation. If all of that stuff is perfect and the brain does not feel safe, it's not going to let you go to sleep. And it's not until your brain feels safe that sleep happens. And when your brain feels safe, sleep is effortless. It happens. So what we want to do is make the brain feel safe by turning down the threat centers in the brain. And so the eye palming and triangle breathing helps a lot with that. A lot of times even the ear tugging. Another drill that I have people do is go back and forth with their eyes. And what that does is it stimulates both sides of the brain. It's called bilateral stimulation. And it has a tendency to deactivate the amygdala. Not necessarily calm it down, but deactivate it, which is super, super powerful. And there's different names for that. Some people might know it by EMDR. before that, it was called EMI. And before that, and for any baseball fans, in 1973, George Brett had his rookie season with the Kansas City Royals. And every time before he went into the batter's box, he would do this back and forth movement with his eyes to calm himself down and help with performance anxiety. And it was why he had an unbelievable and to a large extent unmatched career. And incredible consistency at a very, very high level. And it's because he knew how to turn off stress in the moment. Yeah. And for sleep, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to turn down the chirping and make the brain safe and let it drift away naturally.
I love that. So you just talked about performance. How do you perform under stress?
Well, there's a couple of different aspects to it. I'm very fortunate that for over a decade, I worked in the tactical world. So a lot of times we're training for situations where lives depend on performance and where in the moment stress is incredibly high. And so learning how to do that and how to do it predictably is very, very important and saves lives. And so we break it up into two different parts. One of them is to calm down our allostatic stress load, which is basically our everyday baseline stress load. And we want to eat clean. We want to not have anti-nutrients, or I call them kryptonites, that a lot of people, it's very, very common to ingest kryptonites anytime you eat out or have drinks out, not necessarily alcoholic, but sugar-free drinks. We want to get the senses working together so that they're not an additive threat to the system, and just chip away item by item on things that the brain interprets as threats, so that when we step into that threatening situation, we're able to deal with it because we've got extra bandwidth. One way to think of it is our brain basically puts every threat and stress that we're experiencing into a bucket. And imagine it having a spigot off of the side. And if we pour a ton of stuff in there, water's going to start coming out of the spigot. And when water comes out of the spigot, we're going to get anxiety, we're going to get nerves, we're going to have a hard time paying attention and focusing, we're going to have brain fog, we're going to have decision fatigue, and we're going to have pain, random pain that our brain starts creating to get us to stop. And if we can lower all of those, now all of a sudden when we get in the moment stress, we're way, way more able to handle it.
Yeah, that's incredible. Do you have any exercise to teach people how to perform under pressure?
Yeah, I've got whole courses on that. And again, a lot of it depends on what things are currently causing stresses. For a lot of people, it's things with the eyes. And if we take care of those issues with the eyes, stress level just melts away. For people who have had head injuries, a lot of times directional hearing is a big, big stressor in crowded environments, because people might, a noise might be coming from over there, but they hear it from over there. And their brain just interprets it as, I don't know where stuff is coming from, so I'm going to act like there's a threat coming from over there. Yeah. And so what we'll do is have two people and have one shut their eyes and the other reach out and snap their fingers. And the person with their eyes shut reaches out and grabs where they think they are hearing the snapping coming from.
Interesting.
And that can take people, had tremendous success with vets who were no longer comfortable in crowded environments, getting their vestibular system, getting their peripheral awareness working again, and getting their directional hearing working again. And now all of a sudden they can go into a crowded, stressful environment, and it's not that bad.
Yeah. Wow. What does it mean to go clutch?
Oh, basically in situations where performance counts, seconds on the clock in a game, and you just have to perform at your best under pressure on demand with no time to do anything other than just boom, execute.
Yeah. Can you share some ways that you can kind of like, I guess, like enhance how to like perform, like when you're going clutch? I guess I don't know if this is the right way to ask the question, but like,
Yeah, it's going back to the fundamentals of if we can get the brain happy, if we can give it what it needs, give it sleep, give it the right nutrition, give it the right sensory input to the brain, get the senses working together correctly, get the threat centers of the brain turned down, all of a sudden is way, way easier to perform in high stress situations and perform at a high level, to remember what we have learned and to be able to execute it rather than freaking out and not remembering anything, going blank or doing random things.
yeah, this is incredible. I can't believe we've been chatting for 55 minutes already. It's been just like a slew of knowledge, and sometimes I'm even like at like there's so much that I could ask you about that, and I'm like, okay, should I ask this? Should I ask this? And then like my questions are not coming correctly, but it's been incredible having you on the show, and I feel like we could talk for another 5 hours with all the exercises
Easily.
that you shared. Like you mentioned, like you have over 200 different drills that people can do. That's incredible. So before we wrap the show over here, are there any other cool things that you can share with us that, like, as entrepreneurs, that we can enhance our life to ensure that, I guess, we get, that we perform better? Like different exercises that we can do to, I guess, like improve performance as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, let me, okay, here's one. And this is a great one for traveling. And I'll give you an example of about a year and a half ago. It was in the Salt Lake airport. Had a really short layover between flights, but I forget what it was. Annie Ann's, it was something. I really, really wanted something at the airport. And it was not near my gate. So I was booking it down there. And all of a sudden, my hip and my knee started hurting bad enough that I had to slow down and I was limping. And it's like, all right, I didn't just get hit with a baseball bat. I haven't fallen. There's no mechanical reason, no physical reason for that pain to have started. Duh, Mr. Neurology guy. It's because you were just on a flight. And so what I did was I put my thumb out in front of me and stared at my thumb and moved my head in each of the 8 cardinal directions. So like southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest, and took the pain from about an 8 to a 2 or a 3.
Wow.
Did it one more time, went down to a 0.
Incredible.
And what it was is, again, the fastest reflex in the body is between the inner ears and the eyes. When we travel faster than 20 miles an hour, those get out of whack, and we end up with conflict between the senses. The brain doesn't know, is that straight ahead because that's what the eyes are saying, or is that straight ahead because that's what the inner ear is saying? And that gets them back on the same page so that they're not arguing, not fighting, and we aren't wasting glucose on stuff that we don't need to.
Yeah.
And the brain will create pain to get us to stop moving. And I had a class I was teaching. It was a shooting class, $2,000 a piece that people flew in from all over the country for. And I was doing a lunch and learn presentation on vision for shooting. And there was an orthopedic surgeon in the front row. And I did that drill with everybody. At the end of it, he was clenching his fists. You could see his jaw was clenched, the tendons in his neck. He was mad. I was like, oh, no, what did I do? All right, let's get this over with. So I said, looks like you've got something on your mind. Tell me what you're thinking. And he said that he'd had back pain for 6 years, and he was scheduled to go in for surgery. And postponed the surgery so that he could come to the class, and had been to every doctor in his system. And my stupid drills that shouldn't do anything made his back better than it felt in months.
That's incredible.
And it's just the power of the brain to turn up or turn down the volume on pain based on how much threat it feels like it's under.
Wow.
And we underappreciate it. We try and put tape over the check engine lights instead of fixing the issue that's causing the check engine light.
Yeah. Incredible. Do you have any drill or anything that can improve learning? Like I guess like maybe reading faster or like retaining more when you read like books and different things?
Several, yeah. I've got a whole course on that. I'll show you one.
You have so many courses, guys.
Well, for, a lot of tactical ones, 50 total.
Wow, incredible.
But, is it here? Shoot, maybe I shouldn't have. Here we go. All right, so these are pencils that have columns of letters on them. And what you do is hold them out a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and you have your face straight ahead, and you go back and forth between the two. So IACZTYBGHIQNOTTH. And doing that helps coordinated movement of the eyes for driving, for reading, for trip avoidance, and the less energy you have to spend on what your eyes are doing when you're reading, the easier it is to remember. So, do you want to try it?
Yeah. So I just kind of put that over here and then just like read them
Yeah,
from top to bottom.
from top to bottom.
Like V, J, W, D, A, B, M, O, C, X, J, W, C, D, V. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you repeat that, and then that improves your like.
Yeah, or flip them around,
And then you
or
and then you do that again.
one close, one far, diagonal.
A, I, Z, C, Y, T, G, B, I, H, N, O. This is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, this needs to kind of practice it a little bit.
So,
Yeah, that's really cool.
So when I was at my worst after the concussions, doing basically looking at a license plate in front of me, looking at my radio, looking back at the license plate, it would take 2 seconds to go from the license plate to the radio, 2 seconds to go from the radio to the license plate, which is very, very unsafe.
Yeah.
It's also not uncommon.
Yeah.
After doing drills like these, I can do it multiple times a second.
Yeah.
Which makes me a much, much safer driver.
Yeah, that's incredible. How do you get these tools? Like, how can somebody purchase them?
Oh, visiontraining.com.
Okay, so all of these are on visiontraining.com.
Yes.
Okay. I have one last question, and I don't know if
Yes.
I'm gonna put him under the bus right there. My brother typically sometimes, like when he's writing some stuff, like and make some like grammatical errors and stuff like that. How do you improve that by? I don't know if that's like those trainings, would that help?
Grammatical errors or writing errors?
Like maybe basically writing, I guess writing errors. Right,
so with
Jeff?
writing errors, with writing errors, that is a test actually of it's called midline cerebellum function. And so one of the things that we can do is we can breathe all the way out and hold our breath, and that can have an immediate impact on cursive ability, on writing ability. Another thing that we can do is if we look at our hands and think of this as the target, and go back and forth and see how fast we can do it. That helps midline cerebellum function. Another thing that we can do is a drill called funny bunny. And what you do is you take a deep breath and you say funny bunny, 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 funny bunny. And you notice I had to close my eyes and then I stopped That wasn't on purpose. That's my cerebellum being tired at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And all of those increase the amount of oxygen and glucose going to the cerebellum, and then people can balance better and write better.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Like one time I had somebody come in the studio and I was writing on the board and I was writing welcome and I completely missed the L. So I'll definitely try some of the exercises that you shared today. This has been such a pleasure having you on the show, Mike. And I feel like we need to have a second time where we can delve a little bit deeper in some of the amazing tools that you've created. I think this is so cool. But for anybody that wants to get a hold of you or that wants to learn about all the different tools that you have, how can they do that?
There are 2 sites I suggest. One is ADHD Advantage is where I've got the book. And then I've got a 1-hour follow along workshop where people experience change in real time. I run them through drills. I tell them why their brain works the way that it does, and maybe explain things that nobody's ever been able to explain to them before. And it really helps a lot of times to just know why things are happening and that you have control over it. And that's at peakbrainreboot.com.
peakbrainreboot.com.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, a 1-hour walkthrough workshop where you do drills with me in real time. And if you get results and you like what you see, I've got training at the end of that where you can dig into those, the cookbook, if you will, of the 200 drills that help with pretty much every area of performance in life.
Awesome. And if you're looking for any of those like amazing tools that he shared, like this kind of thing, and also
those are at visiontraining.com.
Those are, you go to visiontraining.com to learn more about that. Mike, such a pleasure having you on the show. That was incredible. That was it's probably one of the shows that probably had the most tips or kind of like exercises shared. This was not a traditional show, and I'm really grateful for the conversation that we've just had.
Well, thank you very much, Chet.
Absolutely. Guys, if you are dealing with, sleep, that was a really great show. If you're dealing with, ADHD and vision training, definitely reach out to Mike and learn about all the different things that he has to share. There you have it, guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. Enjoy. Let's go, baby. That's so fire.